Hello, everyone. It's the Rant Man back on the air. I gotta just clear something up. I know that this is as random as bolt of lightning. Whenever I put one of these out, there's a reason for it, though. First, my life is a big, huge mess of work. I do work. This is not my actual work. If it was, I'd probably be somebody like Kyle Kolinsky or well, at least when the Young Turks used to do radio, and I would be somebody like that, putting something out every single day. But unfortunately, I can't because I have a real job, and I have to keep that real job if I want to earn money. Having said that, every now and then when I have time off, I like to put one of these out because there might be some issue I want to talk about. And, of course, being the self-centered narcissist that I am, I want to share it with the rest of the world because I think at least my 2 cents are important. So, today I wanted to talk about Glenn Beck. Now, sit down. Hold on. Before you decide to walk away, I understand it's not an easy issue to tackle because this is not an easy person to talk about. Not that he's complicated or anything, but Glenn Beck is, as we all know, he's a clown. But he's not just a clown, he's a dangerous clown. He can be anyways, because he has such a huge audience. Not as huge as he used to have it on TV, though. He used to have a pretty huge audience on TV. He has a mildly large audience. I mean, certainly galaxies beyond whoever hears this. But not as much as he used to have with his TV show. And, of course, he has a budget for it. And he has the time for it, obviously, because he can put it on, time on a show. And I don't know how much he charges, like $10 subscription a month or something. I don't know. All I know is that this guy will appear on like Right Wing Watch blog, YouTube page, or we'll talk about it on Secular Talk or Dave Pacman or the Young Turks. He'll say something stupid, and there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to Glenn Beck. In fact, I want to start by playing a sound clip of and this happened more recent than whatever else you're gonna hear today. This happened actually after Obamacare signups reached 7 million signups. So, and of course, being a right-wing conservative, what Glenn Beck had to say had nothing to do with the issue at hand. It was just insane ranting. But, listen to it and you let me know. You tell me whether or not it's insane ranting or not.
We've never had this before.
Hard to understand.
This guy, you put him in a military uniform. I'm not kidding you. You put him on a balcony in a military uniform. This guy's a full-fledged dictator. There has never been any president who has ever done anything like this. Really,
I think you're right.
The guy goes out, and everybody knows that crowd is there just paid to clap. Mm-hmm. Everybody knew. In Soviet Union, everyone knew.
Of course, I'm going to spare you the rest of it. And if you want to look it up, you can look it up. But that came out after, like I said, after Obamacare reached 7 million. Why did he talk about Obama being a dictator and all that stuff? Because it's Glenn Beck. Of course, he's gonna say that Obama is a dictator, and he's going to what else did he say in that? I think the clip, if you want to, I mean, like I said, I wanted to spare you the whole clip because it's like 2.5 minutes, and just with this 25 seconds, it gave me a headache. But I want to, if you want to look it up, it's fine. But basically, he talks about how Obama is a dictator, and he would create his own dictatorial, uniform because he's got such a big ego, not unlike Glenn Beck, who has a humble ego because he's a Christian, and so. But that's not the craziest thing that Glenn Beck has ever said or done. Let me play you some more clips of Glenn Beck and his insanity, and you tell me whether or not he's insane or not. So.
Get off my phone! Get off my phone, you little pinhead! I don't care! Get off my phone!
But it's suicide to sit back. And not just for my company or your company, but for the country. We don't have the luxury of time. I've been telling you for a while, and I've told my own staff, if the president wins, I don't know how we survive. I don't know how we survive the regulation that is coming for my industry. I don't know how we're going to survive the pressure and the tactics, because he has more flexibility now, and they remember their enemies. I don't know how we're going to survive because I won't compromise. I won't make a deal with the devil. I want you to understand this. Inflation is coming. The fiscal cliff is coming. The dollar fell last night on the news. Your taxes are going up. Your health care costs are going up. Your religion is going to come under attack. Gas, coal, and energy is going to become more expensive. Do you remember that list we put out a few months ago of do these things? I will tell you, last week we purchased more farmland as a family. May I recommend, if you have a chance to buy farmland, you buy farmland. If you live in the East, may I recommend, get the hell out of the East. Find a place where you are surrounded by like-minded people, and the best way to find those people is you should probably look at the maps on how counties voted and get away as far as you can from where huge densities of people who are like, I just need FEMA to help me. But get your kids away from the school that is indoctrinating them that socialism is okay. May I highly suggest you get grandfathered in to the Second Amendment today. Oh, and don't forget the ammunition.
Yeah, actually, the first clip in that series of two clips. To be fair, it was part of a larger call where this woman, I think named Kathy, called Beck's show, and basically called to talk to him about how Glenn Beck doesn't care about the healthcare of others, and how the affordable healthcare is good, and he basically just lost it on the woman and yelled at her. The second one, though, is that came right after Obama won second election. I mean, just the paranoia of these people. It's mind-boggling. I mean, granted, anyone who's listened to this knows how I feel about Obama and knows that, I don't think he's a dictator or the Antichrist. I think he is pandering to the right wing because, he's the first African-American president, and he doesn't want to seem like, those typical stereotypes of the angry black man and, being the first African-American president. He seems to have this inner fear that he's going to not be like the kid, like the kid in the playground who's, who has to be friends with everybody, and wants to be liked by everybody, but in turn ends up alienating his closest friends because he wants to be, popular with everybody. So that's pretty much what Obama is, and it shows on the way that he's behaved the last 5 almost 6 years, and it's unfortunate because he gave hope to a lot of people that he was going to do things differently than other people, and yet he has been, more or less the same, Washington politics type of president. So it's disappointing more than anything. But I mean, it's not to the point where insane people like Glenn Beck say buy guns and grandfather yourself to the Second Amendment. Hint, hint. Associate with like-minded people. Hint, hint. I mean, it's not even hint, hint. I mean, it's more like, it's more like become, segregated within your own, community. Separate yourself from everybody in your own community. Just stick with like-minded people who believe that Obama is some kind of a socialist antichrist monster, and buy guns because Obama is coming for you, for your land, for your dog. It's just a typical, it's just typical. Black people are evil. They're coming to rape your daughter and to murder your son, type of insanity. Which is that let's call a spade a spade. Glenn Beck, wants to throw in the stereotype that Obama is some kind of dictator monster, antichrist, whatever, who wants to do all these horrible things. The same things that a lot of these right-wing religious people have wet dreams about. They want to be the dictators to tell people what to do. And of course, if anyone thinks I'm just being if anyone thinks I'm exaggerating, just look at their previous platforms. If you can go back and research former Republican presidential platforms of what they thought was important. I mean, it's just look it up and you'll see. They want to basically control the the First Amendment, and then they want to control the Second Amendment too. They don't want anybody. While they're telling a lot of these right wing people are telling their fellow right wingers to buy guns. We all know that the second a religious right wing dictatorship would take power, the first thing they would do is take guns. They wouldn't want anybody to challenge their authority, and of course it's one of those things where they call the other side oppressors, yet they would be the first people who would oppress others. And that's obviously people like Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck, in my opinion, is one of these it's the propagandist of the right wing movement, and it's obvious, in the way he talks and the way he talks about other people. I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise, of course. I know I'm not naive. I know that he's gonna be saying stuff like this because that's how he is. He's insane. He's a projectionist also. He will, talk about all the stuff he do, and then he project it to, Democrats and anybody else who wouldn't agree with him. I mean, look at if you look up, there's a video where he's supporting this guy who's running against Mitch McConnell. I mean, again, Mitch McConnell he's as right wing as you can get, but according to Beck, he's not right wing enough because Beck is calling him as big as a threat as Obama, which, I mean, it just makes you want to laugh. Because I mean, especially considering the last 6 years. Oh, excuse me. Especially considering those last 6 years, and to think that Obama would be, or Mitch McConnell would be this right wing. I mean, this left wing socialist, like Glenn Beck called them. It just makes you want to giggle a little bit because it's insane. Anybody who's, like I said, seen, and I'm sorry, I gotta apologize because a jet flew over our apartment and that took me off track of what I was saying. But I mean, if you look at the last 6 years, people like Mitch McConnell who stated, along with a bunch of other Republicans in a closed-door meeting after Obama won in 2008, that they were going to oppose everything that this president did or proposed to do. And, of course, that doesn't seem to be right-wing enough because Glenn Beck is just calling Mitch McConnell a left-winger as dangerous as Obama. And of course, he's called Obama a lot of things. So for him to turn around and say, "Well, Mitch McConnell is as worse as Obama," it just blows your mind in many other ways. There's some more issues that I want to talk about besides Glenn Beck. I want to spend the rest of the time talking about Glenn Beck because, well, I just don't want to spend half an hour talking about this guy. So there's another issue I want to talk about, which is this social justice warriors, as they're called, and it's just people, mainly feminists, who like, I'm not just talking about feminists overall in general. I'm talking about the so-called Tumblr feminists, as they are known, these feminists 2.0 who think that that the patriarchy, is still in existence in spite of the fact that it's been proven that that the so-called wage cap is just a fantasy, and that that in a lot of ways women have as much, if not more, rights as men do, and yet they say that women are being oppressed all the time in every single facet of life. I mean, you hear this from women like Rebecca Watson and Anita Sarkeesian and of course another social justice warriors, recent one, Zoe Park, who wanted to get Stephen Colbert's show canceled. because of what she thought was some kind of like insult. Because, well, if you haven't heard about it, well, it's kind of surprised if you haven't heard about it, but basically what happened was that Stephen Colbert, upon hearing about and I'm drawing a blank here. Upon hearing about some kind of social justice issue, said that he would launch the Ding Dong Ling Long Foundation for Betterment of Asians, something like that. And of course, that offended the social justice warriors out there, and they got outraged. And this one in particular, Sweet Park, I wanted to get Stephen Colbert's show canceled. But in turn, they decided recently, CBS decided anyways, to name Stephen Colbert the successor to David Letterman and a Late Show. So it just amuses me, and it amuses me a lot, because considering that what this lady's initial goal was and how it just got turned because she thought that she could take Stephen Colbert down by doing this social justice hashtag stuff, and then it turns out that Stephen Colbert got more power, and I mean, this is what bothers me about this whole thing, is that Stephen Colbert is a comedian. He's a satirist, okay? And as much as I dislike bias against others, I dislike people who try to cut off other people's freedom of speech. This is very prevalent with a lot of social justice warriors, is that they try to censor people from saying stuff that is offensive to them. And while it is a problem, at the same time, these people don't consider that that is the number one reason why we had the First Amendment, is to protect people that say stuff that might not, be in agreement with what we think. Because if you wouldn't like to be censored, why do you think you'd have a right to censor others? And it just it bothers me whenever I hear somebody do that. And it bothers me when other people take advantage of others, like Anita Sarkeesian took advantage of all those people that donated to her to do her little video series, which, to be honest, it was one of those things where, how can you take $160,000 from people just to do some sort of crappy videos, which can be debunked in around 5 minutes, and they've been debunked by people like Thunderfoot, and yet she will not let others respond to her in the guise of, well, people have been trolling me around everywhere. Everything I say, people have been trolling me. Well, if people have been trolling you, it doesn't give you an excuse to censor or to try to censor comments, because people have been trolling, because people will troll almost anyone. Trolls will troll. Okay, and I mean, does that mean that you should try to silence people's opinions on your channel? Well, you can, but the thing is, though, is that it makes your argument look weak when you refuse to listen to others, even if there's a bunch of trolls. If there's a voice of disagreement out there and you choose to ignore it, then what's the point of putting up an argument? I mean, you might as well just be talking to your wall. And well, that's pretty much it. I mean, when it comes to these people, that's pretty much all I have to say. Is well, these people are not as bad as Glenn Beck is in many ways. They're the type of people who, if they had any type of power, would probably do the opposite of what they think they're doing. Like these social justice warriors, thinking that they're fighting some type of evil. But if they had the power, they would probably censor others, like they feel like they're being censored and oppressed. Same with people like Glenn Beck. If he calls Obama dictator, yet if he had the power, he would more than likely dictate over what people should do. I mean, it's kind of obvious that, from what he's said and done, that he would probably do that. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where he and others would rather play the victim, because it's much easier to try to criticize others when you act like you're the one that's being victimized. So that is about it. I will see you all next time, and this has been the Rant Man, and I'm signing out. Peace.